but in my experience, AI never delivered content that I felt people were engaging with. It always felt as a deviation of something else. It never felt unique and it never sounded authentic. Anything inside of Penmo is not front facing. The world has no idea what's inside our system until you publish it. So we use AI to
Welcome to another episode of the Clicks to Customers podcast. This is John Horn, host and the CEO of Stub Group. If you don't know who Stub Group is, we're a digital advertising agency that helps businesses dominate Google Ads and make money online. And we're always looking for conversations like the one we're about to have, where we find interesting people who are doing interesting things that would benefit small businesses, medium-sized businesses, large businesses, really anybody in the business and marketing area. And so that brings us today to our guest, Trae Halkitis, who is the CEO and co-founder of Penmo. Trae, thanks so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. So I love writing personally, and I'm very excited about our conversation today because it's going to be all about writing and content and such things. And so let's dive in. I'd say let's kick things off. Could you just give some background for what is your company, Penmo? What do you guys do, and what got you started to begin with?
Sure. So Penmo is a content writing company that connects businesses with content writers. So unlike other platforms like Fiverr or Upworks, we do all of our work in resourcing and finding and vetting all of our writers, and then we have them loaded into our system to verify that they're good in specific industries and certain content formats, so that when you sign up for Penmo and you fill out your brand profile, we know the right writers exactly for your projects. And unlike some of our competitors like Fiverr and Upworks, we're a flat fee. So you're going to get quality stuff by vetted writers, and then we go another level and we do actual quality checks on each piece. So that's for plagiarism, that's not AI derived, that's SEO standards, and provide a full document for each project we give you, so you know that when you use this, if a digital component is necessary, it's going to meet all of your standards in the system. It was kind of the brainchild of my partner and I. So my partner actually is the technological brain behind Penmo. His background's in content writing as well, but more on the software solution side of building infrastructure and stuff like that. Well, my experience is very much on the content creation side. I spent 20 years in marketing. I've been a part of companies, whether they were startups or established brands. And, I always had issues creating content, specifically written content. Like, I'd love to say I was a writer. I'm not. I fancy myself as a creative. I'm not. But I always knew that there was a much needed level of content creation to keep customers engaged. And it was very hard to do. So in previous companies, I either had to hire staff writers, which were very expensive, right? Or I used freelancers, also very expensive and kind of hard to manage to get the quality we needed. I was never really sure if they were writing for what I wanted. And then when AI became like the go-to component, I tried it out. And I can tell you from my experience, I'm not anti-AI, but in my experience, AI never delivered content that I felt people were engaging with. It always felt as a deviation of something else. It never felt unique, and it never sounded authentic. So I said, okay, there's got to be something out there and a way to do this at scale, so even smaller companies can get the same level of quality that a larger company has with a full staff or a full agency. And that's kind of where Penmo came from. It was an itch that I had that I wanted to scratch, and I figured other people like myself and my partner had the same problem that could be resolved.
Awesome. So essentially, you guys are the marketplace where you do the work of finding the people who will do the content creation, and then you handle all that side of things. You have an easy place where brands can just go and say, this is what we need, this is our voice. You make it happen, get things to them quickly, and make sure it's got that human touch, as opposed to just something spit out from ChatGPT or Claude or something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely the main goal I had as a guy that's worked on the client side for forever is it's got to be easy. It's got to be intuitive. It's got to deliver on what it wants. And I think we do a really good job of doing that. Our customers would definitely agree. But that's the main thing is like we don't want to overcomplicate the process to begin with. Content creation, content writing is complicated by design. It involves ideation, it involves thought, it involves actually implementation, and it involves verification. Like we take care of all of that for you, so you can just sit there and go, hey, I want a blog on the following subject matter. And we give you templates so you fill everything out correctly, and then we do it. And then you can export directly from the platform into your platform for a very easy implementation strategy.
What would you say are some of the most common use cases? You mentioned blogs.
Sure.
What is it that most people are saying, hey, this is what I want you to write?
Well, blogs is always number one. And then I define blogs as any article you have on your site. It can be a resource, like a tool for a B2B explaining something to potential customers, any basic article. Then after that, case studies are a big one. And if anyone's ever written a case study before, they're similar to blogs in content, but not in actual voice and tone. Then a big thing that we're seeing an uptick in are newsletters and emails, especially for those companies that have a very good opt-in newsletter base. Keeping engaging on them and driving traffic to them in a one-to-one relationship rather than pushing them to the site for a one-to-many, we're seeing a big uptick there. But aside from those main ones, like any sort of content that people need written, well, we get done. I've had some weird one-offs asked, like a 5,000-word ebook or a chapter for a book for a client who's doing sort of a resource. But things tend to break down in the article blog format, case studies, and newsletters and emails.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, just because we have a lot of clients in both the e-commerce and the lead generation space. Have you had many requests for things like product descriptions on commerce websites?
We actually have a direct integration with Shopify. We have a Shopify app. I'm a huge Shopify fan. I'm pound my chest, if Shopify hears, yes, love you guys. We are, I believe, the only content writing service that uses humans in the Shopify App Store. And we get a lot of requests more often for blog content and page content from our Shopify stores. Now, we will do product descriptions, and we can do it very well from an SEO standpoint, from a content standpoint. But I will be honest with you, a lot of the customers who are using Shopify are either using Shopify's Partner Builder, their AI tool within to kind of write and then punch up, or they're just writing it themselves. Not saying we can't do it. They see a bigger value in us with blogs and landing pages and then still newsletters and emails.
That makes sense. So if let's say I'm a Shopify, website owner, and I get the Penmo app for my store, what does the actual interface and process look like?
So when the app is very much similar to any project management tool. So you have along the left-hand side, you'll have your different access for your projects, for your brand profile, which you can fill out as verbose as you want, and then regular system tools, right? Login, password, billing, stuff like that. But then on your project page, you have all of your projects in a queue. So you have your draft projects as you create them. You have your projects that are in progress, in review, and completed. Throughout the entire process, you are getting notifications via email that your project has moved from place to place to place. When you get to like a project that's in review, so our writers have actually done it, you probably had some communication with them, which all occurs in-app within the individual project, so there's no confusion. You're able to request revisions, as many as you want. We do not limit you. You're dealing with humans, so you're going to have to be a little more. You can be a little more requested with humans because they're going to get nuance. But you can request revisions. You can make individual edits if you like. If you want to just change a certain sentence, you can do that. We don't stop you. Or you can approve the project. Once you approve a project, you're allowed to star it like an Uber driver so that you can rate the writer, and then that gives the writer preference on your projects and shows us in our matrix that this writer is really good for this type of client. And then those projects that are completed then live inside of your completed area, your hub, for forever. Whether you have a subscription or not, you always have access to those projects. And you always have access to the validation done on those projects to verify that you've met your standards. So it's very simple, very clean, very minimalistic and everything. And what's cool about the Shopify integration is that that also ports in all of your products. So if you want to reference products in your blogs, or have the writer include quick links to the products, or have us write your product descriptions, meta tags, metadata, whatever, you can basically click those and immediately have those submitted as projects for us to write for you. And then with those, it's one-click submission. So once it's done, you press a button, we automatically seed it for you inside the product description for you to review and save. Coming in 2025 in Q1, we'll do the same thing for blogs. We'll seed it for you, you can review it, and you can submit.
That's awesome. Easy and fast. I like it. Those are the golden.
Yeah, I love that.
So I'm going to guess that one of the objections that you probably get a lot and answer a lot is, somebody saying, well, how is somebody going to be expert enough in what I do to write about what I do? How are they going to know my business or my industry or whatever? Is that a common objection? And if so, how do you respond to that?
It's a common objection only with some of our more niche industries that we deal with. Because we deal with a variety of companies, they tend to break down between standard small to medium-sized businesses. We do a lot of white label work for advertising agencies. And then we deal with startups, right? The startups is where it kind of gets like, okay, we're very niche in this area. So that's when I do kind of get the hurdle, like, how are you going to handle the fact that we're very specific in this area of robotics, for example? Well, with each project, when you fill out your brand profile, we ask you to give us resources on you. So aside from just your domain and your industry and your company name, we have you fill out information on your services, information on you, links to examples you think are good writing on your company, and any additional resources that we need to have on you. We also, within each project, allow you to give us resources for the individual project itself. Now, not every writer can be an expert in everything. I mean, anyone that tries to take otherwise, they're lying, right? But these guys are experts in research. They're content writers. So they know how to research and use what you give them to extrapolate. I will say this, that is where our communication portal, our in-message chat, works really well. That allows our writers to work with the client or a representative for the client in a very detailed way to kind of get nuance, which a lot of companies don't offer. There's nuance in there that allow you to kind of get what you're looking for and massage the issue. I will say this, there's always going to be companies a company can't service, right? It's always going to happen. We just can't fit that niche. And we're very honest about that, which is why we have a money-back guarantee. If you sign up for us and you use the platform and you feel like I'm not getting what I need, whatever definition that is, there's no questions asked. It's also why we don't make you go from month to month. We won't make you do a long-term commitment. Everything's month to month. So if you get to the point and you feel like I'm good, no hard questions, no hard file, with nothing, we let you kind of proceed on and move forward with it. We haven't really run into a whole lot of problems where we can't facilitate a need for an industry. There's probably projects that we couldn't complete because it was too niche, but you'd run into that with any individual provider for content writing that's not a staff writer.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Is it fair to say that some of your secret sauce is in that back and forth communication between your human writers and the brands, so that it's not just, hey, here's your complete, your first draft is perfect, ready to go, but it's here's what you've got to work with, and then you have questions about it, you need revisions, then you go back and make those things happen and punch it up to be the really great content piece?
I'd actually say the secret sauce is the quality of the writers. So that particular example you're talking about is probably 5% of all customers, and 5% of all cases. The vast majority, that 90-95%, the writers are so skilled, so vetted, that we can give you a final ready piece at the end of our process. I mean, the writers can't even submit to work for us unless they have a minimum of 5 years experience. And they provide us with a full dossier of work they've done, and then they go through a whole onboarding test to verify that they can write for different subject matters, write in different styles, handle revisions, handle notes, and then before they're even released into our regular pool, they have to write projects for the Penmo team. So that's really the secret sauce, is the fact that we have these great talented writers that can deliver within like 1 to 4 days a quality project, depending on length, directly for you that you can publish if you want to. But then we add another level by saying, hey, if you want to punch this up with them, you can. If you've had an additional thought once the project is submitted, we don't lock that down. If you say, hey, you know what, I want to expand on this section here, the writer goes, okay, no problem, we can totally do that. And basically, it's the fact that we use real people to give companies freedom to create content the way they need to. I think that's really the secret sauce.
That makes a lot of sense. Awesome. So I'd love to dig a little bit further. You brought this up and already spoken to a certain amount about AI versus what you guys do. I imagine that's another one of those big questions that comes up, which is okay, why Penmo instead of ChatGPT or Claude or whatever? So what's your response to that?
So I'm probably the only content writer or content creator in the entire industry that goes, oh, I love AI. AI is great. I don't hate AI at all. But like with anything, as a seasoned marketer, and I have 20 years experience, every tool has a place in the system. And ChatGPT is just a tool that should be in every marketer, every business's stack. So like in my experience, I've seen success and I do love AI for like ideation. Like if you can't figure out subject matter, or you can't figure out how to start something, AI is great for ideation. AI is also great for verification. So making sure that certain things are hit and certain situations are met. And that's where Penmo differs from a lot of any other content writers out there. You know, we're human first, and the other ones are normally AI first when they say they're human and AI. No, we're 100% human. But we use AI within our system in a different way. So we use AI and machine learning behind the scenes to help to populate your brand profile. So when you're starting to fill out your information about your brand profile, our machine learning is out there pulling anything on the internet about you to create a verbose dossier on you. So our writers have a lot of information along with what you've provided. And then when we get to the end of the cycle, everything is written. We have machine learning and a little bit of AI being used to verify the product is totally correct. It's not AI derived. It meets SEO best standards by Google. All the hrefs are all correct. Everything along the lines there. We actually have a feature we're going to launch towards the end of this quarter. Couldn't get it to begin it, but it's going to be our content suggestion feature. So when you log into your account, there's going to be a new option along the side that says suggested content. So what we're using AI for is to parse through all of your published information, and that's key. Anything inside of Penmo is not front-facing. The world has no idea what's inside our system until you publish it. So we use AI to use your brand profile, to use anything you've published, and then when you onboard with Penmo, we ask you to tell us, who are your competitors? Who do you think your big competitors are? And then we parse their information and say, okay, you guys are in the same industry, you've talked about the following subject matter, they've talked about subject matter, we see an opportunity here. And the system will not only highlight what the subject matter is, it'll give a brief overview for what we think the subject matter should be and suggested keywords for your keyword strategy, and all you have to do is click and submit. So when I hear people say, well, AI can do what you guys can do, it can't, because AI can't create. AI can adjust. AI can surmise someone else's experience. Humans can really create. Humans can actually take a concept and expand on it and create an idea. But AI is very good at coming up with ways to help you get started and ways to verify that your content has been done correctly or verify that things are meeting requirements and best standards. So that's commonly how I address that problem. I've been very lucky, to be fully honest with you. When I talk to people, because I'm part of the sales process as well. It's a startup, right? You know, I'm hands-on on everything. But I was literally before this call, I was having a conversation with the sales team. And, you know, we don't normally hear a lot of rebuttal on the AI side because a lot of people over the last, I would say 8 months, they've been burned and they've been burned bad. I've actually seen some horror stories where different paid search campaigns just tanked, because all the content on the landing page was AI derived, and Google said, well, we're not going to prioritize that. So we actually don't normally hear the AI rebuttal as much as we will hear any number of things, right? People just say, I don't have time for it, by the way, see the content suggestion feature. Or, I don't know the first thing about content strategy. Well, we offer that feature as well. Like you can work with a content strategist on the Penmo team to help you fill out your strategy if you don't fully have that. So we see AI as more of a tool in the stack, just the way Penmo fits into a tool in the stack like Photoshop or SEMrush or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of what you're saying there resonates with me in what we see in our own business, on the digital advertising side of things, where AI is, like you said, very much a tool. There's a lot of things we're able to use it for. It can, reduce some tasks, it create, like you said, ideation, come up with, keyword ideas and different things. But there's also, it's definitely not a replacement for the human aspect, because it doesn't really understand the context of how to evaluate things. It doesn't understand, okay, this strategy makes sense versus this strategy makes sense. It doesn't truly create, like you said, it ideates, but then you've got to have somebody to say, okay, well, actually that makes no sense in the context of this client or that client. So I like that explanation that you gave.
Thank you.
And I'd say I've seen a very similar thing on our end.
Yeah, I would assume you guys have seen a lot of that with what you do. You probably have more horror stories than I'm even aware of.
Yeah, well, one thing I say often on the advertising side of things is one of the biggest places, like a lot of people, when they think of AI these days, they think of like content, or like ChatGPT spitting stuff out, which obviously is one important part of it. But they often don't think about how a lot of the decisions being made behind the scenes in platforms like Google or Facebook are, AI oriented and generated. And so a lot of the horror stories we see there is, something goes wrong with the data that you're feeding to the AI, and then it just does a really good job of extrapolating on bad data and getting you more of bad stuff. And so you've always got to have those humans, just like on the writing process, with guardrails saying, oh, wait, those numbers are wrong. So, this goal that we've set is actually not something we want you to achieve, AI, because it's based off faulty information. We just actually had this situation this morning where we're like, oh, Google's double counting this conversion metric, and so Google thinks we're doing way better than we are, and it's getting more aggressive, and so we've got to tell it no, stop double counting. So very, very similar experiences, I would say.
Bad data is, I think, the biggest weakness in what AI has to deal with. And I've heard some stories from clients where they almost go, hey, do you think someone's feeding ChatGPT bad data on purpose? And I'm like, yeah, I would assume so. If everyone's thinking this thing is going to be true and honest, there are probably people that are just kind of like, let's be malicious. Let's have some fun and just dump in a whole lot of bad information just to see what it spits out.
No doubt. And if you've been on the internet, which is the source for ChatGPT, you've probably come across something here or there that might not be fully accurate. So you can kind of extrapolate from there. Exactly. Another thing too, I've seen in really all industries, certainly in our industry, is companies using the AI buzzword and just attaching AI to whatever they do. And then people stop asking questions because they're like, oh, well, AI, it's a black box. It just does its thing. It's perfect. And I'm sure you've seen this in the writing space as well, where it's like, it doesn't work like that. Like you still have to, you have to bring creativity, understanding to things. It's not magic, it's based upon inputs, and it's not just going to magically fix all your problems or magically, make your attribution journey perfect, or make your campaigns 10x better just because it's got the word AI there. So little rant on my end, but something we've had to deal with a lot.
You're 100% right. Like I can tell you, before Penmo, when I was working more in the corporate world, like I would sit there in my off time and see if I could get ChatGPT, for example, to really create something I wanted to. And not to like pick on HubSpot or any of those platforms. They're solid platforms, but a lot of them very quickly integrated long form writing from ChatGPT, and HubSpot was one of them. And I was working for a company at the time, and then they started putting out blogs specifically for it. We tested it, and they never performed well. Like we would have them written, and then we'd hand them off to actual industry experts, and it was like, this is wrong here, 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 and here. So very quickly on, and early into the AI lifespan, I realized that speed is not quality. Like you can get it done fast. You can also microwave a hamburger, but it's not going to taste good. And that's kind of where we are with AI. Like, it's not got the nuance of flavor. It just knows to go A to B and be done. And I kind of saw that firsthand, and that was kind of like the planting of the seed. And I was like, there's a way to do this with people that everyone can afford and can give everyone the same sort of comfort that AI seems to give if you just gave them valued checks and showed them what they were getting is what they asked for.
That's a great analogy. Microwaving the hamburger. I may steal that at some point.
It's all yours, my friend. Go for it.
Well, I'm curious, as a CEO, when I get to chat with other CEOs, I'm always interested to know, especially when you're in the startup space, like yourself, what are some of the biggest challenges that you're dealing with? What are the pain points? Maybe everything's perfect for you, in which case, congrats, you made
it.
But assuming you have some challenges, what are you facing these days?
This is not my first rodeo in this. I actually was part of another startup, a successful one that I love with all my heart, that's doing really well. And I can tell you that both times, that the biggest hurdle that I've always seen is it's availability of time. You know, you probably know this as a co-founder and a CEO, is like, there's only so much time, and then the prioritization of the idea to implement that time is always your most precious resource. And it's always a thing that you're always the most restrictive with, because there's only so many decisions you can make in a day. And you get to that point where you're sitting there and it's 11 o'clock at night and you're like, I don't know if I can make the right call on this. So that's something that I think every CEO or co-founder or person in the startup world can definitely deal with. The second one that I don't think is talked about a lot, which I want everyone who's listening, who's either starting their first startup or in the startup game, whatever, is there is no no. There is no no, I'm not going to do that. There is no no, I can't. You better figure it out. Unless you have unbelievable backing, and I've been lucky, and both startups I've been a part of are both bootstrapped. So it was very much like, no, figure this out. And I think that actually plays better to be a better CEO down the road, because you can sit there and I figured it out, I've done it. So, and then when you're hiring, because you don't want to do something you don't do well for long, you want to be able to see your weaknesses and fill that void very quickly. But when you're doing that, you know your limitations, you know what the position needs or what the actual task needs, and you can fill that properly, and you can actually set proper expectations. I'm not a firm believer that a CEO should be hands-on on everything, but I do think they should, in the beginning, definitely have a good understanding of what it takes to get it done. And I don't think that's talked about a lot. I think a lot of stuff right now kind of glamorizes this, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm setting this stuff up. You know, it's hard, guys, straight up. And like, if you think it's going to be an immediate success, no, it's not. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. But on the flip side, it's the most rewarding thing you're ever going to do, because this is all you. I think the final piece I want to add as well into the whole thing is like, don't sit on an idea. No one's idea is perfect. Your idea may be crap. You don't know it. But the longer you sit on it, the more it's not going to happen. Like, don't sit on it. Don't be afraid to share with people. Dude, be vocal about it, because 95% of actually succeeding is just doing the work. So if anyone's listening out there, like, that's the biggest thing. Like, guard your time very well. Understand how your company works and when you don't do well at it. And then be very aware of just like how everything fits into that puzzle, so you can be better in the long run and grow everything.
That's a fantastic answer. I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm very curious to dig in on the time component, because I have the same exact issue. There's only so many hours in the day, and there's many competing pulls on that time. So are there any tactics, strategies that you use to try and help manage your time? Everybody's got their own approach, but what do you do?
So I partition my day in a way where it's very set time for certain things. I allow some overlap. So I am a big music fan, huge music fan, and I remember once reading about how Eminem treats his career like a 9 to 5. Like, he very much puts in, like, I'm going to be in the studio from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I'm going to write, and I'm going to write, I'm going to write. I'm going to put everything in there. Now, when you're self-employed, 9 to 5 is not a thing. But the point of that is like there are times of my day where I am just doing a thing, and that is pretty much non-negotiable unless something comes up. So a part of that also is you have to remember to factor in you time. So like I have my time where I only do emails and I work on Penmo, meet with my partner, meet with the sales team, work on projects, try and think of ideas to expand the company all in the day. But I also, what's not talked about is I take time for myself. Like, a big component of that is, you can't have a strong mind without like a really focused, strong body. So being physically active, eating well, stuff like that. If you have a family, I do, I have a wife and a son, you got to remember to factor them in the time as well. And I've learned, and this works for me, when you can kind of create those pockets where this is the time and you can be fully present in those individual sections, it's not wasted movement. Like you're not scatterbraining around. I'm in it, I'm doing it, I can achieve a goal, I can take a beat, I can go on Instagram, go for a walk, whatever, and then transition to the next thing. I found that works really well for me to help managing my time and getting things done. I also very quickly, and this is a learned skill set, you have to learn this. If I am not good at something, I'm immediately the first person to say, I need to talk to someone else who's better at this than I am. I need to get their insight. Whether it's talking to my network, whether it's talking to someone on the team that actually is better at it than I am, I'm not afraid to say, I don't know. Let's figure this out together. Let's do that. Because that's also going back to my very first thing. You don't want to waste time. Time is the most precious asset. You can spend a lot of time burning trying to figure it out, or you can take 5 minutes and ask a question and get to that conclusion much faster.
That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that advice, and I'm taking notes here mentally. Some things I will probably be doing to implement some of that. So.
It took I burned the candle at both ends for a long time, and I realized very fast, like, for me, right? It's not for everybody. My mind works that way. Yeah. When I set these compartmentalization up and these pieces up, it also helps when I'm managing teams. If I'm in the right frame of mind for the right team I'm talking to, I think they get a better communication, and I'm right there with them. When I used to manage a full marketing department, you probably know this as well, John, like you talk to creatives. Talking to a creative like a designer is not the same when you talk to someone that's like an analyst or a data person or someone who is more of an account executive. The conversations are very different. And you need to realize who you're talking to so you can communicate clearly with them and you can take the information back. That compartmentalization mindset that I mentioned, that helped me with managing different types of people. I'm not sure if it works for everybody, but it's been successful for me.
Awesome. Well, Trae, really enjoy the conversation. As we wrap up here, how can people best learn more about Penmo, reach out to you if they're interested in working with you? Great.
So the easiest way to learn about Penmo is go to penmo.co. Penmo.co. We're on Instagram. Gotta do that again. I apologize. We're on LinkedIn as well. You can connect with me directly on LinkedIn, Trae Halkitis. I am the only Trae Halkitis in the entire world, so I'm very easy to find. I love talking about content marketing. I love talking about content. I love helping businesses kind of achieve their goals with content marketing. So always feel free to DM me or connect with me. But if you really want to understand Penmo, penmo.co has everything you need. And then if you want to get good resources for different ways to utilize content and expand your business, our Instagram and our blog is full of great content to help you be a better content marketer.
Awesome. Well, Trae, thanks so much for coming on. To those watching, depending on what platform you're seeing this on, we'll have links in the description and the show notes to penmo.co and Penmo's LinkedIn channel and other info we talked about today. And thank you so much for your time watching or listening to this conversation today.